Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in to the Edge of the Earth podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Jarman. I am back with another episode, and today I want to start off by thanking a couple people. We have some new followers on Spreaker. We're still marching along to that 100 followers that we need to get. We have Jamie following us now, and she's a former co-worker and a good friend, and also Michael, who is also a friend on Facebook and used to go to high school with me. So I appreciate both those follows. Leah Page, also from Spreaker, she follows me now. So I really appreciate that. We're getting there. So today I want to talk about the deep web. Now, some of you may have heard of the deep web, and some of you may not have heard of the deep web. I'm just now kind of getting into it myself. I haven't learned a whole lot about it up until recently. So this is a good chance for me to really dive into it and figure out what's going on there. So if you don't know, basically what the deep web is a whole internet underneath the internet that you and I commonly know. These are basically websites that even Google cannot find. By its very nature, the size of the deep web is even tough to calculate. Basically, like everything that we know, like Facebook, Wikipedia, the news, all that stuff that we find on the internet, that only makes up about 1% of the entire World Wide Web. When you go around the web, you're really just kind of walking around on the surface, really, is the best way to put it. And think of everything in the deep web as being down in the ocean. And like I said, if you think about it in terms of like search engines like Google and Yahoo, Bing, they constantly index pages. That's where they send out these crawlers, which go all over the internet and research and find all of these websites. And then they put them into Google's database, or whichever site that you use. And when you search in there, then they'll have that indexed page in their system. But the deep web is something that even they cannot find. Like I said, the crawlers cannot get into the deep web. So everything that's not indexed by Google is considered the deep web. But then again, there are some websites that are the deep web, which would be like your bank account when you go online. That's all encrypted to where you can't like do a Google search and pull up your bank account information, right? So that's one example of some of the things. Like anything that's behind a private network or like a standalone page that connects to nothing at all, these are all part of the deep web. Just to give you some statistics on the deep web, so for example, the deep web contains 7,500 terabytes of information. And if you think about that, 1,000 gigabytes is 1 terabyte. And then 1,000 megabytes is 1 gigabyte. So just to give you an idea. As compared to the surface web, which contains about 19 terabytes of content. So think about that, 19 terabytes to the deep web's 7,500 terabytes. It has between 400 and 550 times more public information than the surface web does. There are more than 200,000 deep web websites that currently exist, and there are more being created all the time. Together, the 60 largest deep web sites contain 750 terabytes of data, surpassing the size of the entire surface web by 40 times. So think about that. That's just like even one website practically almost could make up the entire size of the surface web. The total quality of the deep web is 1,000 to 2,000 times greater than the quality of the surface web. I'm not sure what exactly they mean by quality. 550 billion individual documents can be found in the deep web compared to the surface web's 1 billion individual documents. And 95% of the deep web is publicly accessible, meaning there are no fees or subscriptions. And so it's only getting bigger all the time. So basically, from here we go into what is in the deep web. Now there are a lot of things in the deep web, some bad, some good. The vast majority of it holds pages with information. Like a report in 2001, the best to date, estimates that 54% of the websites are databases. Among the world's largest are the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NASA, the Patent and Trademark Office, and Securities Exchange Commission's EDGAR search system, all of which are public. So you can get into all that information. The next batch of pages kept private by companies that charge a fee for them. like the government documents LexisNexis and Westlaw, or the academic journals on Elsevier. I'm not sure what that is, but another 13% of pages lie hidden because they're only found on the intranet. Now, some people may joke and they call the internet the intranet, but there actually is an intranet. These internal networks, like corporations or universities, have access to message boards like personnel files, industrial control panels that can flip a light switch or shut down a power plant. So that's kind of a big deal. So just kind of wrapping that section up, basically, there is a lot of good things in it. Now, here we're going to get into the other side of the deep web. Like I said earlier, you only get about 1% of the entire internet on what we normally experience with search engines and things like this. To kind of intro that part, we're going to talk about how you get into the deep web to begin with. Now, there are several ways, several special browsers that you can use. You can't actually access it, as far as I'm aware, with traditional browsers like Internet Explorer or Google Chrome, which I commonly use. There's one browser called Tor, Tor, and that one lets you surf the web with almost complete anonymity. Like, they can't track you at all. It gives you your own custom new IP address, and you can actually change that at any time, as far as I'm aware. So you're virtually untraceable. And because of that, you can get into criminal activity, which is what a large part of the deep web has. You remember the WikiLeaks controversy? That information had actually already been out on the deep web for years before we actually heard about it in the news. Among other things would be like drug trafficking. Lots of drugs are sold on the internet. You can buy weapons, guns, all this stuff. There's also a large amount of porn, and unfortunately, child porn, which there's quite a bit of that. And also, you can even go as far as hiring a hitman to kill someone. So this kind of gives you an idea of how you have this wide range of things. Hiring a hitman all the way to NASA documents. And these hitmen for hire actually have rules. Like, they won't take a target who is under the age of 16. They won't assassinate government officials. Prices for the hitmen actually range from $10,000 up to $200,000 for one job. It really depends on the profession of the intended victim, apparently. And speaking of that, their main currency on the deep web is Bitcoin. One Bitcoin is actually equal to 440.11 US dollars right now. The largest drug trafficking website on the deep web was actually called Silk Road, and I think it came to be in February of 2011. And that actually brought in a revenue of $1.2 billion, which is pretty insane. They sold anything from cannabis to crystal meth and MDMA, whatever that is. But in October of 2013, Silk Road was actually shut down by the FBI. Unfortunately, this just meant that many more sites popped up in its wake and now continue the trafficking. There's a very high demand for this, apparently, for drug trafficking and, also guns and knives and other deadly weapons. So financial details and personal details are also kind of at risk on the deep web. Identities are constantly bought. Between 2013 and 2015, Chinese hackers actually hacked into the U.S. and stole tons of personal information of people. Credit card numbers can actually be purchased even on the deep web for as low as $10. And so then even into a darker category, this is called the dark web. And this is the hub of the pedophilic activity. There are numerous websites on there that encourage users to post child pornography. 80% of internet traffic on the dark web is actually for child pornography or child abuse. Unfortunately, many of the government's attempts to catch these people or catch these websites and take them down have gone largely unsuccessful. I mean, they get a few, but this is largely because of the unfathomable size of the deep web. I mean, it's huge. And also, the anonymity of the deep web allows extremist groups to contact each other and carry out conversations much more easily. So that's, I think, largely how a lot of these groups contact themselves. Because I used to think, how can these people message each other and contact each other and get away with it so easily? But it makes sense now. They even have sites with step-by-step instructions on how to create lethal explosives and all kinds of horrible things. it's still almost impossible for the government to track the online activities of terrorists. So I've spent a lot of this episode talking about all the bad things on the deep web. There are some good things. It's complete freedom. You can do whatever you want, access whatever you want, buy whatever you want, but you have to be responsible with it as well. I wouldn't go in looking to do any illegal activity. I wouldn't make anyone mad. You'll meet people in the deep web too. The benefits of the deep web would definitely be the anonymity. That's number one. Every day, all of our web actions leave traces of ourselves and our way of life through the storing of massive amounts of personal data in databases on the internet. All the information composes our digital identity. Today, tracking user activities on the internet are one of the primary interests of private companies and governments. Businesses and political motivations are pushing for the development of monitoring and surveillance systems. However, the Supreme Court of the United States has ruled repeatedly that the right to anonymous free speech is protected by the First Amendment. And Tor, which I talked about earlier, which is used to surf the deep web, gives you that anonymity. Therefore, it is legal to use Tor. For those of you who want to learn more about the deep web, you can definitely do a Google search and read up a lot of information on it. There's still so much that's not known, though. It's kind of a privileged internet system like that the government uses, and I don't want to scare people off from trying it out, because this is one of those things where the governments want you to stay far away from the deep web because they can't spy on you. The crime is there because of the anonymity granted by the deep web, and so that happens, but that doesn't mean that's the only thing it's used for. Again, I'm still learning about it, and I don't know everything, but this was a brief rundown on what is in the deep web. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you next week, next Saturday, right here at the edge of the earth.